Welcome everyone to this video. In this video, we'll be using Lasso tool and we'll be seeing what are the different types of Lasso tools. We'll be seeing how to make quick selections of Lasso tool and how to make copies of any object using Lasso tool. It's gonna be a fun one, so let's just get right into it. So here is the Lasso tool. So basically, Lasso tools are just some more tools to make selection. In the last video, we just looked at the selection tools and how to make selections using these. So with these, we could just make selections of like circles or like rectangle shape selections, but with this we can make freehand selections. So we have three types of lasso tools. To see the three types of lasso tools, you just have to right click on the normal one and then you will have the three types of lasso tools. We have normal lasso tool, polygonal lasso tool and magnetic lasso tool. We'll be going through them one by one. So first is the lasso tool, the normal lasso tool. So it just helps you to make a freehand selection. So I've just clicked on it and then I can just make selection of any shape and then I can just like move the starting point, like my cursor to the starting point and then leave, and then it will make a selection of the shape. So this is how you can make freehand selections using lasso tool. We also have these four like categories. Like what are these? So let me explain to you what are these. So first is the add. So you can just click on it or just be here or click shift. Here you can see it shifts from this to that and it also shifts sign. Like here you can see it's just normal, but if I hit shift we have a plus sign. So if you want to add some area to the selection, you can do it by just holding down shift or clicking on this and then just select the area what you want to add like this, and then here you go. Now that area is added to the selection. Let's say you want to remove this area like this sky area. So what can I do? I can just hit alt. Here you can see the sign changes to minus, or you can just click here and then make a selection or just select the area you want to remove, and then that area is removed from your selection. Now let's say you want to make another selection with, so like just make another selection. You can just click on it and just make a new selection. So basically what this does is, if you want to make a selection like within this selection, let's say you just want this part and not any other part beyond this selection but only some part of this selection, you can choose this, which is this divide or intersect with selection, and then you can make some part of the selection like remove almost all the part but not beyond that selection. This is what intersect is. And now let's go to polygonal lasso tool. Here you will see everything is the same, but like the icon has changed of course, and the way of using it has changed. So if I click on it once, here you can see it gives me a straight line. So if I just click, 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 and then just move this to the ending point, and then now not the ending point, the starting point, and then click, you can see it made a selection. So if you want to make freehand selection like but geometric freehand selection, so you can use the polygonal lasso tool and the rest is the same. And I also wanted to just discuss a perk about the lasso tool. So let's say you're making a selection and you want and just leave it. Here you can see if I just leave my cursor, you can see it will just connect the end point to the starting point. So we can use this in many ways. Let's say we want to make a cloud using the selection, we'll just make like this. This is a crappy cloud, but I'll just leave here and it will make a straight line. It will connect the end point to the starting point and we will use it in some areas in the later course. Then we have Polygonal Lasso tool, and the same thing applies here, but here you will see that if we leave like the cursor, nothing will happen, because that is how the Polygonal Lasso tool work. We just click, leave, click, leaves. So what can we do to just connect the endpoint to the starting point? We just hit enter, and you will see it just connects the endpoint to the starting point. Here you can see. And now let's just deselect, or control D if you don't want the selection. Then we have the magnetic lasso tool, which is different from both of them. So what magnetic lasso tool does, it tries to make not a freehand selection, but it just detects the edge. It does edge detection using the colors, or it differentiates colors and tries to detect the edges of the object you are selecting. So if I just start to make a selection of the mountain, here you can see I'm moving it like far away, but it is making like a more of a perfect selection, you can see. But let's say you just move your cursor just a little bit, you will just see that it follows the selection elsewhere, and you just try to remove it, but it doesn't, and you just move the cursor like crazy on the image, and you just forget what was the starting point. So like how to connect this endpoint to the starting point, it is not going. You just hit enter, and it connects the endpoint to the starting point. And this is what magnetic lasso is. We won't be using it in the course because it's a crappy tool, and the better replacement for this tool is the quick selection tool right here. But I'll be explaining this in later lessons of the course. So these are what lasso tools is. Now let's see where we can use the lasso tool. So for example, I want to make this mountain a little bit darker. I'll just use the lasso tool, make a freehand selection, because we never have to make a perfect selection. If you want to just make any object darker, lighter, or just like vibrant or saturated, we just make a freehand selection like this. And now I'll go to image, adjustments, and then brightness and contrast. I'll just decrease the brightness if I want to make these mountains dark, like -30, let's say -32. Just add a bit of the contrast, like 9. I'll just hit OK, control D to deselect or remove the selection, and you can see it made a stark line. We can see the selection boundary. So how can we, so like what is the solution for this problem? And that is feather. So basically what is the solution for this problem? So the solution for this problem is feather. So what feather does, it makes the selection a bit more blurred, we can say. So now before making the selection, we just had to add some feather. Now I have tried this out on this image, and the amount of feather this image needs is 50%, but it varies from images to images, so you can just try different like values. So I'll just gonna be making a selection like this, a rough selection. So now if I go to image, adjustments, and then brightness and contrast, here you can see if I just decrease the contrast a little bit and then increase the contrast, once again the same values, and then I hit OK, deselect, and here you can see there is no stark line, or no one can point out that we have made the mountains darker. So this is what feather is. It just makes the edges more blurred out, or softer edges. Then we have another image. So another use of lasso tool is, let's say we want to make a copy of object. Let's say I want this pen to be here as well, and this same pencil to be here as well. So we can do it using lasso tool, because we can make copies out of objects using lasso tool and cut out parts of image using lasso tool. So let's just select this. So I forgot one thing, we have to remove this feather, because this feather is a little bit too much for this project. We can just use like a 10 10 pixels for this. And now let's just make a selection like this, a freehand selection, and now we'll just copy paste, or we could just hit Ctrl J, which is duplicate, and now you can see it made a new layer. And now if I just turn off this background layer, we can see that we made another like image of this board pin. We made a copy of this board pin, not board pin, just like these pins that you have used with the paper. And now we'll just move them, and here you can see I am just moving it and it does not look fake. Like if I just zoom out, this looks real. So here it is. This is how you can use selections to make copies of objects. So now I can just hit Ctrl T and then even rotate it like this. So of course it just made the shadow move here and there, and it's not looking that good, but yes, we can also like rotate it. So this is how you can make like copies of objects, and we're gonna be doing the exact same thing with the pencil, but not with this lasso tool. We're gonna be using the polygonal lasso tool because the pencil has a more geometric shape. So I'm just gonna I'll just make a selection like this. And I forgot one thing. I'm just gonna go backspace, and I'm just gonna increase the feather to about 10%. So I'm just gonna now make a selection, click, 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 another click, and then done. And now I'm gonna hit Ctrl J, and before doing that I'm gonna come back to the background, this background layer, and then hit Ctrl J. Now we have another layer for the pencil, here you can see. And now I can move this layer to, let's say, here, and then maybe rotate it, Ctrl T, and then just rotate it like this. And this is how you can make copies out of this lasso tool. So this was it for this video.